Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. I want to thank all of those folks who appeared yesterday at the Firearms Freedom Symposium in Springfield. It was an outstanding event, and there was a very, very substantial crowd there. I don't know what the numbers were, but I can tell you this. There were a lot of chairs there. I think there were 1,000 chairs in the audience, and almost all of them were full. And so I do want to thank those who, appeared and stayed for the event. I also want to thank especially those folks that participated in the event with sponsorships of tables and things like that. So outstanding event, and thank all of you for your participation and your support during that event last night. There was a lot of press there, including KY3 News and a number of local newspapers and a lot of independent videographers and photographers and so forth. And it was really just an outstanding opportunity for those people who made it to kind of share their beliefs and ideas, understand a little bit more about what our constitutional foundational principles and rights are about, and to understand what gun control can do to a nation as it basically destroys liberty and freedom. And so there was Sheriff Richard Mack there last night, who was the keynote speaker. Larry Pratt was scheduled to be keynote, and unfortunately he was caught in a cancellation of hundreds of flights in Chicago and was unable to attend. And so unfortunately we didn't have an opportunity to hear Mr. Pratt. However, we did have Sheriff Richard Mack, who did attend and was able to make it. And he very graciously stepped up to the keynote position and had an outstanding presentation. And so if you were there last night, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you weren't, you missed it. And I encourage you to make sure that you attend these types of events as we go forward. I do want to make a quick announcement, and that is that House Bill 436 is up for a hearing today. There is any way that you are going to be heading or can make a trip to Jefferson City. Please make your voice be heard that way. Also, make sure that you are calling your House representative members today and your senator and insisting that they vote yes on House Bill 436. That is the Firearms Preservation Act, and it is the strongest legislative action in any state. The Senate companion bill is called SB 325, and I really want to make sure that these two bills pass. One, they are an outstanding statement and declaration to the federal government of the United States that we in Missouri will not participate in any kind of gun ban legislation. Number two, they are a clear and definitive declaration that we in Missouri stand as an independent and sovereign state with our ability to manage our own affairs without government intervention. And thirdly, they are a very clear and defined nullification statement to the federal government that we in Missouri have the right to nullify federal law if we find it to be unconstitutional. And according to this document and the bills, there are two particular bills that have been passed many, many, many decades ago that are violative of our Second Amendment constitutional rights. The first one being the 1934 National Firearms Act. The second one being the Gun Control Act of 1968. Now, both of those acts do the exact opposite of what our Second Amendment says. They infringe on your ability to own a firearm. How do they do that? Well, they make you obtain, number one, a background check just to be able to own a firearm. Number one. Number two, they outlaw other types of firearms where they have absolutely no right or reason to do so. The Second Amendment says, shall not infringe. Shall not be infringed. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that there are no laws that may be passed to limit and or infringe upon that right. Any law. In other words, let's make it very clear. Any law that limits or infringes your right to own a firearm or any type of firearm is against the law. Any law that has been passed by our federal national Congress, and quite frankly our state legislation, legislature and assembly that limits or infringes upon your Second Amendment rights is breaking the law. It is illegal. You may not do it. Period. End of sentence. If you infringe, you're in violation. Federal, nullify. State, nullify. No government of the people, by the people, wherefore the people, or any other for the, has the right to infringe your Second Amendment rights. End of sentence. Period. Bold, capitalized. That means that any limitation on your right to own a firearm is null and void on its face. Those aren't my words. Those are words by much greater minds, much greater patriotic motivation and drive and knowledge than mine. Those are the words and the statements of our founders, because they knew that the only limitation on the corruption and abuse of government was your right to defend yourself, your family, your neighborhood, your community, your town, your county, your state, and ultimately, perhaps even, your nation. That's not my thinking. I've studied their thinking, and I agree. The real principle here is simply this. If government steps outside the constitutional boundaries which we have outlined for it, then we have the right to nullify that law. And government is built and designed with one simple purpose. And the words that our founders use is to interpose themselves on our behalf. To interpose. That word, interpose, is what a bodyguard does when he jumps in front of his employer to prevent a bullet. He interposes himself in front of that person to accept that fire. When someone separates two individuals in a fight, they interpose themselves between those two individuals to cease the activity. Our government exists for one purpose and one purpose alone: to guard our liberty and, where necessary, interpose itself into a situation and defend and protect us against tyranny. Now, tyranny doesn't necessarily have to be magnificently glorified or huge in its scope, or even blatant. Tyranny can take many, many forms. Tyranny doesn't have to be applied to all people at all times. It doesn't have to be a declaration of martial law. Tyranny can simply be a milk board that decides to put a family farm out of business. Is that not the definition of tyranny? An agency or a group of individuals who use a delegated authority to abuse and to unlawfully destroy a family farm? Is that not the definition of tyranny? Of course it is. All right. Interestingly, Sheriff Mack made an announcement last night that their next Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association group is going to be held here, I believe, in Missouri. And they're working on the details of that, and it may occur as early as May. And so that would give an excellent opportunity for every sheriff in Missouri to be in attendance. And our goal would be for you to make sure in every town, every city, every county, that you are putting together a collection to make sure that your given sheriff is going to be in attendance at that particular event. Why? Because they will learn the constitutional principles and the constitutional obligations of a sheriff, the most important law enforcement agent anywhere, period, bar none. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, your Class 3 dealer for automatic weapons and suppressors, including Gemtech and Huntertown, with a great selection of holsters, slings, magazines, and gun storage options. West Plains Pawn and Jewelry will also do special orders. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
I'm going to give you another definition of tyranny. And it's so blatant and so obvious to us that Helen Keller will be able to identify it instantaneously and immediately. In an internal email, this regards the sequester, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services official, a gentleman by the name of Charles Brown, asked if he could try to spread out sequester cuts in his region to minimize the impact. You know what the response that he got back was? You're not going to believe this. Because this is the definition of tyranny. They told him that he could not do anything that would lessen the dire impacts that Congress had been warned of. If you want to see intellectual dishonesty at play, here it is. Here's the quote. This is what his superiors told him. We have gone on record with a notification to Congress and whoever else that APHIS, that's his organization, would eliminate assistance to producers in 24 states in managing wildlife damage to the aquaculture industry, unless they provide funding to cover the costs. So, and this is a quote, folks, so it is our opinion that however you manage that reduction, you need to make sure you are not contradicting what we said the impact would be. That is tyranny. This administration is determined to allow America to go to hell in a handbasket as long as their prediction of the dire result of sequester can be made to occur. They weren't predictions. They were promises. And that is a significant difference. That, in fact, is the definition of tyranny. The government isn't suggesting things may happen that would necessarily or possibly come true. They're making them come true. And that is a huge difference. Where flexibility is available, don't use it. Where you can mitigate the damage, don't you dare. Where you can make a change that would make the sequester have no impact on your agency, you are prohibited from doing so. I'm reminded of a famous statement from Marie Antoinette. Let 'em eat cake. That statement was made after she was notified that the people in the kingdom in France were starving and that they lived a life of lavish luxury. And she flippantly turned around and said, let him eat cake. With the absolute absurd principle that they didn't even have bread. Forget cake. You see, here's the problem. Government is now the oppressor. They are not the savior. They are not the doer. They are not the creator. They are the oppressor. They are not the benefactor. They are the oppressor. Our national government has descended into tyranny. I've said it over and over and over again. And people still decry. I don't understand. How can that be? They're not that way. The hell they're not. You want proof? They told this plant health inspection service officer, I don't even know why we have such an office, but they told him that he may not do anything to mitigate the damage, even though he has the capacity, capability, wherewithal, and authority to do so. Their goal is to inflict as much damage and pain on America as possible. To prove their point. Not because it's necessary, but because it meets some political expediency of the moment. Let him eat cake. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit that that is the definition of tyranny. Tyranny is simply summed up in one word: oppression. And if you're going to tell me that the government, who tells a minion of theirs that you are under explicit and strict orders, that you will not contradict the dire warnings we've given out because they must come true, even though you have the wherewithal and the capability, but those predictions must happen. That is manufacturing history. That's not telling it. That's not letting events unfold. That's creating it. And that is oppression. If this man, Mr. Brown, had the wherewithal to make a difference and to minimize the impact on his employees and on the people and the businesses and the industries in the aquaculture industry, and he can minimize the damage that will occur as a result of sequester, however minor or major that may be. And it doesn't even matter, by the way. If he has the wherewithal and the authority as the head of that agency to say, well, we can shuffle a little over here and move a little over there, and we can, Bob wanted to take a vacation anyway, so we're going to let him do that now. And we can cut back a little bit over here, and we can hold this conference maybe another time. And he's instructed by his superiors. It is our opinion that however you manage that reduction, you need to make sure you are not contradicting what we said the impact would be. To my understanding, that kind of a statement, that person who made that statement should be charged criminally. Criminally. I cannot express to you how angry and frustrating that is. To find out that our government, whose sole purpose in existence is to improve the quality of life by preserving liberties and rights of the individuals whom gave it birth, that their focus now is to make this sequester and a budget cut of absolute microscopic proportion as painful as possible. Simply to prove they're right. That's not proving you're right by fact. That's making the situation worse to make your prediction a reality. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of oppression. It is the definition of the word tyranny. Tyranny, remember, can be very, very small. It can be very large. It can be somewhere in between. Homeland Security is planning to release 5,000 illegal immigrants due to sequestration. They've already released 2,000 and stopped short of 3,000 more when public outcry was so loud. This is not tyranny. This is treason. How can I make that statement? How can I say this is treason? That is a strong word. That is too strong a statement over something like illegal immigration. Really? You think so? All right. In the 2 minutes we've got left, I'm gonna express to you how that word is defined. Look it up in the dictionary. 1, an offense of acting to overthrow one's government or to harm or kill its sovereign. 2, a violation of allegiance to one's sovereignty or to one's state. 3, the betrayal of a trust or confidence, a breach of faith, treachery. Now, if you can find a definition that better fits that circumstance than number 3, the betrayal of a trust or confidence, a breach of faith and treachery, and a violation of allegiance to one's sovereign or to one's state, I beg you to send it to me. The allegiance that the Department of Homeland Security bears is not to some budget. It's to protect the American people from incursion, illegal incursion, across our borders. And how much damage can 7,000 illegals released into the community do? Well, first of all, I got to ask the obvious question. If you're going to cut 7,000 of them loose, why aren't you doing a mass exodus and ejecting them back over across the border instead of into our communities, into our towns and our villages and our cities and our hamlets? Why would you not eject them back across the border from whence they came, first and foremost? I mean, even if you think you have the constitutional authority to do that, which I doubt, or the legal authority to do that, which I doubt, how dare you release them into our community knowing that they can and will statistically and mathematically cause other crimes to occur? That is treason! And in our next segment, we're going to talk about Mr. Eric Holder, because he's made a declaration that drone strikes against Americans on U.S. soil is legal, and that is treason.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Chris Foster. Venezuela in 7 days of mourning for President Hugo Chavez, dead of cancer. Cancer his vice president calls an attack by Chavez's enemies. Some Venezuelans in this country are doing more celebrating, or at least hoping, than they are mourning.
The South Florida suburb of Doral is host to a great many Venezuelans living in exile from Hugo Chavez.
There's a special place in hell for men like Hugo Chavez.
Even the mayor, Luigi Boroya, is a Venezuelan American.
Everybody here is happy. It looks like the democracy is coming back to Venezuela.
Though about half the population of the South American country is said to revere the socialist leader and his anti-U.S. tirades, they're expected to hold an election within 30 days to pick a new president.
Fox News Radio's Evan Brown. Vice President Nicolas Maduro will run as the socialist candidate. This is a Fox News alert.
Thanks to our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can reach Brian down there at 870-492-4030. It's located a half mile east of Walmart on 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My dear friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's located at number 2 Evans Arcade, and you can call her at 255-2253. My friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch opportunity. You can, from 11 till 2, and you can have salad and pizza, something tasty and something good for you. Our friends Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. If you're considering doing any kind of remodeling, new or custom construction, and or light commercial, give Bill a call and let him bid on your next project. Our friends at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue, 417-257-7799. They can be found at thebatterystation.com. Our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun, an outstanding opportunity with 400 firearms under glass. You can reach them at 417-256-3000, and they are located at westplainspawn.com. Located physically at Highway 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. And finally, the sponsor of our phone lines, Wits End Classic Barbershop, located on the square in West Plains. Best haircut you can get for $10, and a nice young man as well. Please visit and support our sponsors.
Family Fun and Fitness, LLC presents rape and assault prevention classes at Country Cupboard in Licking, Missouri. Men, women, boys, and girls, if you want to know how to stack the deck in your favor in a situation where violence is the only answer, this class is for you. Rape and assault prevention classes are held Monday evenings at 5:30 beginning February 11th and run through March 18th. Class size is limited, so call today 417-260-1006 or register at Country Cupboard, 217 North Highway 63 in Licking.
News Talk 107 The Point weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, a clear sky. It's going to be sunny through the day, high 46. Mainly clear tonight, low 24. Tomorrow's going to be a sunny day, high 52. Sunny skies on Friday, high 58. Partly sunny Saturday with a high of 60. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
Tyranny. One, oppressive power. Every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Thomas Jefferson. Oppressive power exerted by the government. 2, a government in which absolute power is vested in a single ruler, especially one characteristic of an ancient Greek city-state. The office, authority, and administration of a tyrant. 3, a rigorous condition imposed by some outside agency or force. 4, an oppressive, harsh, or unjust act. The decision to release detained aliens undermines the Department of Homeland Security's mission to keep our homeland secure and instead makes our communities less safe and more vulnerable to crime. Regardless of sequestration, DHS actually has plenty of funding to pay for the detention of criminal aliens. Unfortunately, it seems administration officials are more interested in using sequestration to promote their political agenda than as an opportunity to get our nation's fiscal house in order. Janet Napolitano's response? It wasn't her decision. Detainee populations and how that is managed back and forth is really handled by career officials in the field. We are going to manage our way through this by identifying the lowest risk detainees and putting them into some kind of alternative to release. So, the New York Times did a little bit of a research study on what they classify as a low-risk detainee. One of the examples is this detainee was taken into custody when it was discovered that he had violated probation for a 2005 conviction of assault, simple battery, and child abuse, charges that sprung from a domestic dispute with his wife. So the question asked by Mr. Garrity is, if convictions for simple assault, battery, and child abuse make you low risk, exactly what is it that you have to do to get onto Janet Napolitano's high-risk list? These are the people that they're going to release 5,000 strong into our community. That is treason! How can you say such a thing? Because it is the betrayal of a trust or a confidence, a violation of the allegiance to one's state. The offense of acting to do harm to one's state. And that is exactly what they have done. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning. I appreciate your talk there. You've got everything 100%.
I haven't even begun. Eric Holder has announced that drone strikes against Americans on U.S. soil are now legal in his mind.
Right.
However tortured that gray matter may be.
I want to say something real quick so I can get off here so you can speak. I went to the Hartshorn meeting that they had last Saturday. That was great. And any rate, and I just got through calling Roy Blunt from Missouri for the HB 436. But another reason, and you know as well as I, another reason why Obama's his organization is releasing all these people is to create more gun crime.
Of course.
Give them another reason to come and get our guns. And people need to realize that.
They want to create crisis because crisis, according to James Madison, is the rallying cry of the tyrant.
Right. That's it. I remember reading that, but I hadn't come to mind, but you're right. But anyway, I want to let you go, but that is one of the major reasons of letting them go, to create more crime. Then the federal government can come in and take more of our rights away, just as they're doing right now, and unfortunately, it's working.
Absolutely. That is the definition of tyranny. Thank you very much for the call. When you are telling me that you're going to release 5,000 individuals into the streets of America who you know have a criminal background, Otherwise, why would they be under detention? And just the fact that they've come across our border illegally and violated our most foundational law makes them a criminal element. And many of these folks were not caught at the border. They were picked up years or even decades after their illegal entry here for crimes committed while being an illegal after however many years they've been here. Case in point was this gentleman that I just mentioned. This guy was taken into custody in 2005. He was convicted of he was given probation after a conviction of simple assault, simple battery, and child abuse. Then he violated that probation and now has been taken into custody, and they're going to cut him loose. Well, I got a couple of basic questions. First of all, after you convicted him of the simple assault, simple battery, and child abuse back in 2005, why didn't you throw his sorry sack of wetback rear end out? Well, we have to make him pay for his crime. Okay, then keep him in custody until he's paid for his crime, and then throw him out! But don't throw him out onto Elm Street, you idiot. Don't throw him out to Main Street. Don't toss him back into the middle of our hamlet. Eject him from our nation. And eject him with prejudice. What exactly does that mean? That means eject him with a label, a tattoo of some sort that labels him a past transgressor. And if he's caught again, the punishment should be swift, severe, and damaging. Our border needs security. Our borders should be sealed. But this administration is bent on tyranny and bent on treason, and they express it to us every single day. And it's not just this one. The Bush administration did the same thing. The Clinton administration did the same thing. Every administration has been doing this for the last 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or even 80 years. And frankly, I'm sick of it. America, if you want to continue to live in tyranny, you can continue to follow the thinking of this idiot. Attorney General Eric Holder can now imagine a scenario in which it would be constitutional to carry out a drone strike against an American on American soil. He wrote this in a letter to Senator Rand Paul, who requested for him to explain whether or not he felt that it would ever be possible for an American drone strike against an American on U.S. soil. Here was his answer. This is so mind-blowing that this man should literally be taken out of his office in chains. It is possible, I suppose, to imagine an extraordinary circumstance in which it would be necessary and appropriate under the Constitution and applicable laws of the United States for the president to authorize the military to use lethal force within the territory of the United States. I want you to hear that, and I'm going to take this question apart after the break, this statement apart. Where it would be necessary and appropriate, I can't find any constitutional authority for that. And he goes on to say, under the Constitution and applicable laws, first of all, the Constitution is the only law. That is the only law. There is no other law other than the Constitution. Where it would be legal, necessary, and appropriate under the Constitution and applicable laws of the United States for the president to authorize the military to use lethal force within the territory of the United States. Where it would be acceptable for the president to authorize the use of military lethal force? Really now? Mr. Holder, you are the most egregious example of a traitor that I have ever in my lifetime seen. You are a traitor. A traitor to America, a traitor to your oath, a traitor to your office, a traitor to this nation, a traitor to every American who lives and breathes under the guise and the umbrella of this great nation. You, sir, should be imprisoned for life. We'll be back in just a second.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
I had this illness that really made me powerless over alcohol, and that insisted that I got drunk. And so I got drunk. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to control it. An alcoholic who picks up the first drink will pick up the second drink. I can't say to anyone, no, don't drink. But I can say that when you decide you don't want to drink, come to AA. The door to AA is always open. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Another year older, another birthday blood. Not when you're listening to the Birthday Club here on 107.1 The Point each morning during the morning show. Proudly presented by Ryan's Family Restaurant. Call in your loved ones, your mom, dad, grandma, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, whoever, for their chance to be the winner of a great buffet and drink from Ryan's Family Restaurant. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you from 107.1 The Point and Ryan's Family Restaurant.
Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Holder noted that Rand Paul's question was hypothetical and unlikely to occur. Quote, were such an emergency to arise, I would examine the particular facts and circumstances before advising the president on the scope of his authority. What? I would examine the particular facts and circumstances before advising the president on the scope of his authority. Really? And we're to believe that you, Mr. Holder, are the final arbiter of what's lawful and not lawful, when you just simply gave us the understanding that you believe it's an acceptable solution for the president to order the murder of an American citizen via a drone on the soil of the United States of America. This is the same guy, I might remind you, who thought Fast and Furious was a good idea. Now there are some 400 at a best estimate Mexican nationals dead and 2 American law enforcement agents. And we're to trust his judgment? Mike Lee, a senator from Utah, an attorney, and a Judiciary Committee member, told the Washington Examiner that in reference to this drone policy, and this was last month before this latest diarrhea of the Eric Holder mouth, that the whole topic of drone policy has the potential to swallow the rule. Not quite sure what he meant by that, but it sounds like typical lawyer speak. And I like Mike Lee, but this was not anywhere near strong enough language. That has the potential to swallow the rule. If you're going to regard somebody as presenting an imminent threat of an attack on the U.S. simply because you have concluded that they are an operational leader or they are involved in planning an attack in one way or another, you find yourself giving way too much discretion to the government. Hey, Mike, I'm here to tell you that the government has already way too much discretion, and that I'm going to take it one step further. You, as a senator, have participated in that. And the fact that you haven't declared the entire operational organization of the federal government, the nationalistic government, in active treason shows me that you're also in agreement with it. It is time for our senators and our House of Representatives members to stand up and fight this evil with any and every weapon possible. Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Mr. Lee, I suggest that you ruminate, chew upon, and study that statement. Every member of the House, every member of the Senate, every member of our state assembly should take those words, memorize them, and blazon them across their forehead. Embed them in their mind and live by them. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Now, according to Nancy Pelosi, Obama, she's taken it even further than Eric the Traitor Holder. Nancy Antoinette Pelosi says Obama can not only kill Americans, but he can keep drone strikes against Americans a secret. Hey, folks, you can't make this stuff up. This is like the plot of a Tom Clancy novel for how a government slides into totalitarianism. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi believes that President Obama doesn't necessarily have to announce that an American citizen suspected of terrorism has been killed in a drone strike. Maybe, says Pelosi, it just depends. What? Apparently, you've wrapped your depends around your gray matter. You anachronistic, traitorous, human piece of offal. How dare you? Maybe it just depends, said Pelosi. The administration should acknowledge when it targets a U.S. citizen in a drone strike. When Anwar Awlaki was killed in a drone strike, President Obama announced the killing within hours. Here's Pelosi's quote, "People just want to be protected." And I saw that when we were fighting them on surveillance, the domestic surveillance, people just want to be protected. You go out there and do it. I'll criticize you, but I want to be protected. I'm telling you, I've got to ask this basic question. Has Nancy Pelosi taken a mental retardation pill every morning for the past 50 years? Nancy, where the hell do you get off? Where do you get off? How dare you? People just want to be protected so we can do whatever we want to do, and in secret. What we think is right, irrespective of the law, irrespective of the Constitution, irrespective of the rule of law. You who claim to be a paragon of virtue, you shameless hussy. You have prostituted yourself on the seat of power. The people in your state should rise up, grab you by the collar, yank your cottage cheese laden, you saccharine rear end back into California and eject you off the coast. You make me sick. How dare you? How dare you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the defining moment in whether we allow ourselves to slide under the tyranny and the totalitarianism of a police state. These statements are coming from our alleged leaders. Do you not see the relevance? Do you not see and hear what is placed before you? They are giving you the empirical proof from their own lips. The poison slides and slips across. They have declared themselves to be outlaws. With that statement, she has declared herself to be an outlaw. Eric Holder has declared himself to be an outlaw. Mike Lee, again, senator from Utah. Anytime the government willfully executes a citizen, regardless of the circumstances, it is a very serious issue. As the body that oversees executive branch action, at the very least, Congress should have a full accounting, even if it must sometimes be in a classified setting, of the specific considerations that went into that decision. How far we have fallen. How far we have slipped down the rabbit hole. How insane that our alleged leaders, that our alleged representatives would sit up there over champagne and cocktails and shrimp and lobster tails and steak and debate our fate as if we are nothing other than maggots to be dealt with. I am ashamed. I am outraged. I am furious. I am determined. Are you? Don't give me the Nancy Pelosi line. It just depends. You either are or you're not. What are you going to do to change the mantra? What are you going to do today? What step are you going to take today to prove that you are against evil? And mark my words, this is evil. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. That's a wrap for us today. Tomorrow we're going to have the Constitution Party candidate for the 8th District on here with us. Please join us. You'll need to hear what he has to say, because if we send him to Washington, he's got to do something about this nutty stuff. I mean, folks, I'm floored. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. Find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Let's get to the point.
Well, let me get to the point.
FM News Talk for the Ozarks is FM 107.1. The Point. KBMV.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. The storm is coming, and it's hitting a lot of areas in the east after already going through the Dakotas and the Midwest.
This snowstorm, again, is going to be